And I'm not going to take too long over it. It's a bit glitchy this morning for some reason, but I'm not quite sure why. All right, so I'm going to take a purple, because I can, and I'm going to work out that her feet are going to go about here, and the top of her bow, which is the tallest point, is going to go about there. And I reckon it goes, the size of the bow goes 1, 2, 3 and a bit in. So if I make out the size of my page, I reckon her bow is about that big. And I reckon her face then comes down about the same size again. So whatever that distance is, I can work out that her face goes about there. And then I'll split up the rest so that her hands are in the middle. The bottom of her hand is about in the middle. So if I go there, I know that's where her hand goes. And I can then have a go at drawing her bow. She's got a kind of swoosh movement in the middle, in her movement. If you look, there's a curve to her body. And I know that her head goes about here. Let's put in the curve. And I know that the bow goes up at an angle like that. And then it comes out. You'll notice that I'm not doing little itty-bitty movements like this with my crayon. I'm trying to be expressive with the way that I'm putting the marks onto the paper. This bow overlaps her head a bit, and the other side disappears behind the head. And then we've got an ear just about here. Something like that, and then that comes down, and then her mouth comes around, and then just about here we've got a nose. And I'm looking really closely all the time at my reference, trying to make sure that I'm keeping my drawing reasonably accurate so it looks like her. And she's got this sort of funny dark bit there, and then that goes up and comes around there, and then up like that, and top of her nose, and then she's got little oval eyes. One eye's bigger than the other and disappears behind her nose. A bit like that, and then she's got her eyelashes. 3 eyelashes. I'm going to put some blue in here. And I'm going to put a little bit of red in there. I'm going to bung some colour on the paper, basically. I'm not too worried about what's going on here. I just want to try and blend my colours a bit, just because I can. Oh, now what happens here? Her ribbon's red, but I've used red next to it. What can I do? Let's take on something else, shall I? Yellow. Go on, let's have a green ribbon. I'm not going to worry about the polka dots. I'm going to put lots of green on there, so I've got plenty of colour material on the paper. I'm chucking it on there. You guys are going to take a bit more care over this if you want to. I'm rushing a little bit. She's got her arm comes down, hand goes up there, and disappears up behind there, under her chin, and then she's got a chest and a hand, and we've got a sleeve there, and about here, dress goes over and sweeps down and under there, and then we've got a big, she's got big shoes, Minnie Mouse, big shoes to fill. So I'm just lightly drawing in. You notice when I'm not quite sure of where my lines go, I'm just slowing slightly and pressing a little bit lighter. But of course all of this colour is going to blend into the mix in a little while when I start to brush with some water. Okay, that comes down. That's her leg. Like that. And then she's got another leg over there. Leave a gap between the legs so it looks like there's light just catching the edge of this one. Fill that in with a bit of dark, using my blue as the dark. So we're starting to get the motion, the movement of her. Anyway, there we go. Probably made her body a bit long, but there we go. I'm going to take some orange. I'm going to bung a bit of orange in here. Oh, have I forgotten the tail? And the other ear. Good spot. Right. Let's pop the other ear in. So it sort of disappears behind the bow there. Not where you'd expect to see it necessarily, but that looks quite good. I'm going to put a bit more blue here, and I go up there, and I'm going to do that with the bow, and I mark there, and I mark there, and then there we go, something like that. So I'm popping colour in now. I've got my lines more or less in the right place, and then I'm going to start experimenting. I want all my drawing to be done before I start bunging colour on. I think she's a bit darker on the arm here, where before she hits her glove. I've used some red there just because I can. Okay, and pop a bit darker red in there. I'm going to make her nose red just under there. Okay, ooh, now, big brush. I'm going to use one of these. Now, in theory, these are water-soluble oil pastels, which sounds totally wrong. But, and I'll be honest, I've never used them before. But I don't really mind what happens here, because I'm going to use this for something else once I've finished it. So I'm going to move my pastels away. And what I'm going to do, first of all, is dip my brush into the water, so I get plenty of water on the brush. If I then wipe the brush on the side, what's happening? The water's falling off back into the pot, isn't it? So I want to make sure I've got the water on my brush. And I'm going to try just moving the colour around with my brush. Now, because the blue is going to mix with the various other colours on my page, I'm going to end up with some areas that go a bit muddy. Orange and blue don't mix very well if you want to keep your picture nice and bright. So keep washing the brush in your water. Try and get the water reasonably clean each time you go on. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time, it appears, to get the colour to pick up from the oil pastel. So you've got to do a little bit of work. But it's a great way of getting a nice bit of fluid motion onto your drawing. I want some orange here, so I'm going to keep that fairly orange. I don't want to mix it with the other colours too much. I like the look of that being quite bright. And I want her legs to be really blue. And I'm going to pop that in like that. So I've got all sorts of funny things going on. I'm not sure, some of the bits work really well. Some of them are getting a little bit lost. I wonder what will happen if I take my crayon back and draw onto a wet bit. Well, it works quite nicely. So you could draw back in the lines that denote the different areas of her drawing. If you want to, over the top, even when it's wet, it works quite nicely. Okay. Now, one thing I thought might be quite good is to just try putting a few movements right the way across my page. See if I can pick up some of that colour and get some brush marks that sort of go right the way over my drawing. I'm not too worried. I'm not trying to make this a photographic representation of Minnie Mouse. I like the way some of it's drying out as it goes, catching some of the colours that I've put on. If I overstir that, what's going to happen? I'm going to lose those nice bits that I get where, you know, so you get this sort of swoosh of red happening. If I'm not very happy with some of it, what can I do? No, you can't rub it out. Yeah, if I don't like any bits, I can take another colour. Let's say I take the black, and I can reinforce some lines just to redraw where I want to be. And it does a little bit. It's not perfect, but I don't want it to be perfect. Put the sleeve back in there. I've moved my drawing line there a bit. So you've all got different cartoon characters, and they're all going to react slightly differently to this approach. I'm thinking that what I'm going to do is slice this drawing up and go quite abstract in my sketchbook with the different sections that I've got. Okay, there are some nice bits going on where the colour has hit, and I can have another go. What I might have a go at also is do a patch of colour here and really mix that up with some red. And everyone's going, oh, what's he doing? The guy's gone mad. But if you've got plenty of water on your page and it's got a nice colour to it, take a straw. Okay, so we're putting a little bit more movement with different colours on our page. I might like a little bit of orange here too. Okay. Have a little bit of fun with it. Okay? Things don't matter. If you get your basic drawing nice, then what you do with the colour over the top kind of explodes and becomes this sort of interesting image to look at. Okay? Anybody got any questions? Remember the scale. We want it right the way top and bottom of the A3 page. We don't want to work in a little section in the middle. Make it take up the whole thing. All right? And then really explore your colours and see what you can do with the watercolours. Okay. Go for it.